Alright, today we are going to deal with the famous or infamous HP tapes that are in plenty of machines in slightly different forms. So this is an already refurbished HP 85 on which I have replaced the original tape and the capstan to work with a DC 2000 tape. I'll show you how we do that. But the life started earlier in the HP 2644 terminal. There's one that's big mouth open, and so this has a slightly different mechanism. This one has been refurbished already. The problem with those is there are several problems, but the main one is that the capstan turns to goo. So it has two units. It shows up, here's another H85. It shows up in some instruments. So this is an HP 5420 Fourier analyzer. And I have two of them. I have one here, and that one has a bad capstan. And you can tell it went on the tape. You can see the red stuff. So it turns red, turns gooey, and it has actually two. It has one that's used here, and you can, I don't know if you can see the color of the capstan, but it's all gooey, it's all red. And I can't boot the machine if I don't have the tape, because it boots off the tape. And then it shows up additionally over here in the 9825. And this one is refurbished, so it has a good capstan. So we need to get the bad capstan one into good capstan, and then we need to take care about the tapes. So once you get your tape drive working, then you have another problem, which is the tape themselves. And those are the 3AM mini cartridge tapes, and this is the DC100 that was made specially for HP, and we'll show you how it works inside. It's pretty clever. But basically, they use a band as the transport mechanism that coils around the tape and pushes it around instead of pushing the tape directly. And the band invariably goes bad and breaks. And also the material, it's an 1/8 of an inch tape. This is also invariably gets flaky. You can buy some Athana recently made ones, which new bands and new magnetic material, and those have two issues with them. First is that they are insanely expensive. It's like $55 for one. The second one is that they need a change in the recording current because it's a different magnetic material. If you can, the best thing is to use instead a DC 2000. So DC 2000 are slightly thicker. They have a band that's double the size, so it's 1/4 inch, so much sturdier. They also require the right current modification. That's a terminal one, that's a 2640 something, and you have already scraped the goo. So it's a bare capstan that we have to recoat, and he has brought a bottle of Plasti Dip. So we're trying to do a Plasti Dip thing. I've never done that technique. Okay, go for it. So this is new and experimental. That looks pretty good. Oh, you probably need to get it off.
Yeah, okay, now you got some spinning to do.
Alright, we'll spin it up. Look. Yeah, I think I would do. Do it again. I'm not sure that my method actually worked. You want to dip it while it's turning, you think?
No. Where is it?
Because, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that one is very uneven though.
Yes.
I wonder if we should
Oh, okay. Take.
just
Just hit the top.
just exactly, just make it a little. Like, what about like this?
Okay.
Does that work? I don't know. Oh man, I know what I didn't do it because I need to clean.
Oh, nice. Oh, you should look. I just trimmed the top.
All right. So that's after. Yeah, well, this one looks. I agree with you. I think it.
I would even try it on the
Yeah, I think it's even enough. Like no, we kept dipping it and it's okay now. Looks nice to me. We have to let it dry 5 hours. You said
4, they said. So
4 hours before we can try it. But that's if that works. That's a very simple method for those thin capstans. That one, the screen is a little jittery, but I don't really care. I want to see if the tape unit works. No say? This one works. Okay, found the beginning of tape. 1 good out of 2, and why didn't this guy work? Oh, just have to insist a bit. Okay. And then you do green tape test. And I think it worked. So what it does, it writes some stuff on it and rereads it back. So let's try again. Home key display. Here we go. So green button tape test. This is the first one. And here we go. Wrote it. Got it back. All right. Except for the jittery screen here. This one is working. So how does that work? Tape. Let's do a reset terminal. Record. I recorded it on this one because this is 2. Go over there, clear display. From write tape. And I will do read. And that didn't work so well. Okay, I figured it out. It's because the tape isn't that smart. So if I do rewind write tape, and if I do read, it got what I got in the first test, what I got in the second test, and then finally what I wrote. I will demonstrate how to save to tape. So my tape work. My DC100 with the band works, so I'm very surprised. Okay, and here is the HP85 version of the tape, so that's later. That's a 1980 version. And this one, it has the GUI tape capstan, so we're going to redo that one. I've tried several methods, look at that, you can see my other videos. The simplest is to do heat shrink tubing, but that doesn't last at all, so I don't recommend that one. Then I have various methods of adding a tubing, and lately my favorite has been to do an O-ring, which of course requires a lace to do it, but that has never failed me. That's very good. However, Carl has discovered there is a guy that makes this little tire looking thing that are made specially for HP85. So all you have to do is slip it over a capstan. So this one turns partially gooey. It's sometimes they go totally liquid, and this one did not. It's weird. So that one scraped off pretty well, and we wanted to measure what the thickness of the original was. So we took a measurement before, hoping that it had not changed dimensions too much, which might be wishful thinking. 9.6 millimeters. So that's 0.9 millimeter thickness. So it's fairly thin.
Yeah.
It's thinner than most.
It was probably 1 millimeter.
Yeah, I agree with you. They probably went with a 1 millimeter coating. HP was very much into metric stuff. Flip over. So that should be the easiest capstan repair ever.
Yes.
Well, okay. Easier after I do this. Yes. Okay, so now it might be easier. Alright. In a vise. Yeah, it's not too hard.
To stretch a little for the lip and then pop in place. That's the theory.
Oh, goes that one. There we go. Alright.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Well, it looks good. Is it the right measurement? It's a little thick, 10.75, but we don't know if the other should have been 10.6 to start with. But that's by far and away the easiest repair I've ever done. It's done in 2 minutes, right?
Terrific.
Well, the tire method didn't work very well either. It sheared right off. With working with DC 2000 tape, that is, with the DC 100 it would have been fine, but the DC 2000 was pressing on the edge on the rim, and that broke it off. So back to square one. I'm going to extend the capstan as I do usually. Okay, in the lathe it goes. I bought 6 O's. I should have trusted my digital reading. And there we go, a little 2 millimeter capstan extension. Then I just use the lathe center to make sure they are nice and concentric and glue them together. There we go, brand new capstan, extended 2 millimeter. Actually, I think rather than the dippy dip technique, I prefer to do this. Dip a blade in there, and then sort of thicken it this way. I think that works better. And 5 minutes. Okay, I'll let it sit overnight. And it actually looks pretty good. That looks like a nicely repaired capstan. And the other thing I got to do is file this a little bit. So the DC 2000, actually this one, I probably still file it a little bit. So it makes the entry easier. Actually, it's fine on that side, but it hits the lip of the PC board here. So I just have to file the thing away for a little bit. Okay. Piece of cake. Da, 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 da. All right. That wasn't too hard. Oh, I need to change the resistor on the PCB. I have to figure out where. That's one of these. I have to look at my old videos to figure out what value that
Look
is.
at the official reference document.
Exactly.
Video.
So we checked on the previous video, is that resistor, it's a 600 ohm and you want to lower its value, so you put a 1.8 kilo ohm on in parallel. I put it on the back, so I'm going just to do the exact same thing. Alright. There you go, so that's the modification for the DC 2000 head current for recording overcoming the, how do you call it, coercivity or whatever it's called. Needs more current to overcome the to change the magnetization of the tape. Okay, let's try a DC 2000. That's also a refurbished one with a band. So I already primed it. Alright, it works. Store. Test. Scratch. Rest. Nothing. Load. Test. Run. Alright, so the rubber capstan works on DC 2000 and on DC 1000. This one was just in a 9528, so I need to redo the beginning of the tape, the formatting. Make sure there's nothing in there, and then load, test. That's it. And then run. Okay, that works. Okay, so time to open up our 9825. I want to try to make the DC 2000 current conversion, and I've never opened one up, but this is just fantastic. So that just comes off, and then the boards, look at that. It just flipped like the pages of a book. Let me remove the keyboard. So that was 2 screws. There's another 2 screws for this to come off. There you go. And then these boards, they just open up. And at the bottom you have the, what makes it thick, which is this large 16-bit processor. Let me see if I can show it. There you go. It's this guy, this humongous thing. It's actually a hybrid with, I have to look it up, 5 or 6 chips in it. And it's a 16-bit NMOS processor, so it was way faster than anything had been done at the time in calculators. And actually, it's right there, so I can make the modification without taking anything off. And it turns out it is very similar to the one, the 9845, on which a guy named Rick Boss, with whom I am conversing, has a procedure how to do it. So I'll follow that, modify it a little. So in all the tape drives mechanisms, somewhere there is a resistor, that there's a current source for the right head, and there's a resistor that determines what the current is. and it's different in each of them, but in this board is this guy. It's a 200 ohm resistor, and Rick says you have to lower it to 160 or 170, but instead of changing it, I'm just going to put a 1K resistor over it, and that should give an equivalent resistance. That's 166 or something like that. And it's different for every tape drive. That's the 9825, that's the HP85. I have to put 1K in parallel, 1.8K in parallel on that one. And I just calculated what it would be in the HP2640. It's at yet another place. It's that resistor over here. So I think I got them all covered. So I think I'll just put it on the side. Let's see this. Yes, that would work. Just tack it in place. Let's see, tack, there we go. But that should do it, so I should be able now to do both the regular tapes and the DC2000s. Alright. Okay, so now we can see if our DC2000 works. Didn't used to before the conversion. How does that work? Rewind. Whoa, that's just brutal. And then I would do mark 3. Okay, let's go back. 5, 320. Thanks. Okay. Then I will rewind. And then I already forgot. It's not FDF, it's T-list. Yeah, sure works. That was the problem before, so now the DC2000 works. So I recorded a program for the first time in my life here in this machine, and to read it, it's load files, very primitive. Files have only numbers, so load file 0. See if it can read it back. And then run. It did. I had it print that the tape works. Cool!